Nikola, 3 MVPs and a championship in 4 years. What a run. But we got a game to play tonight. So you are the NBA's Kia MVP. Congratulations.
Nikola got his MVP trophy before the game tonight, and a pretty incredible game from him, obviously. I know it doesn't come as a surprise, but was there anything that stood out most to you from him with some of the finishing or some of the passing in this one?
Not really. That was a great game.
What did you kind of like from your team in the third quarter after the run that Minnesota made to?
Well, that was the key to your point. You know, I felt to start the third quarter we weren't ready to play, and you know, we're up at halftime playing pretty good basketball, and they go on an 11-3 run to start, and a quick timeout. Then I think from there we closed on a 23-8 run. So just reminding our guys who we are and how we need to play if we're going to try to protect our home court. And our guys did that. I mean, I think in that second quarter we had I think 3 possessions in a row where we took charges. You know, Aaron Gordon took 2. So I thought for the most part, I know the percentages, you know, 48 is not ideal, but 31 from 3 allowed, only 97 points. And we knew we had to do something different with Anthony Edwards. You know, this guy is just a one-man wrecking crew. And I thought KCP, CB, Aaron did a great job, but we trapped them. We double teamed them, flew around behind it, and that takes a lot of effort, and our guys committed to it. And I think that was a big part of the win tonight. 30 assists is a great number. Obviously 16-4 in transition, a great number. But, you know, we're not satisfied. It's a great win in front of a great crowd, but we got to go up to Minnesota and try to close it out. It's always the toughest game.
After the first 2 games, there was a lot of focus on the Wolves and the bigs and what they were doing against Joker, and even more big picture, you know, the way Tim Conley had built the roster with Joker in mind, but he had just not played like himself. What had you seen in those first 2 games from him, and how relieved are you that he's back to doing what he does?
Yeah, I think it wasn't just Nikola, to be honest, Sam. I thought, you know, it was the entire team. Obviously, they had come in here. Game 1 was close, you know, 3 to go. It's the 3-point game. And obviously, we know what happened in Game 2. But I just didn't think we, collectively, were playing like the reigning champs. We didn't have a swagger. We weren't playing with confidence. We weren't playing with aggression. And give them credit. They had something to do with that. So, you know, you got to give Minnesota respect when it's due. But I think after that Game 2, sir, that was a great reminder of who we need to get back to being, both offensively and defensively. I told our players today, you know, I'm always talking defense first, but in our 2 wins, we average 116. Our 2 losses, we're averaging 90. I mean, that can't be the case. Our offense has to help our defense. And I think the last 3 games we're averaging close to around 100 and probably 14 points a game. And 16 in transition is great. And I think another really important stat is the 30 assists, but only 12 turnovers, because they do a great job of turning teams over. But Nikola was named MVP after that Game 2 loss. And I think the last 3 games, 3 consecutive wins, he's shown everybody, you know, why he is arguably, you know, one of the best players to play this game.
Michael, Nikola didn't score in the first 5 or so minutes of the third, and then he scores 16 of his points in the final 6.5 minutes of the quarter. Do you call more plays for him? Do you nudge him at all to stay aggressive, or is that just him recognizing the moment and saying, understanding what his team needs from him? Yeah,
he doesn't need to be nudged, man. That's Nikola Jokic. He's 1 of 9. 3-time MVP. I don't have to nudge him. He reads the game, and I trust him 1,000%. I think it's just when he's being guarded one-on-one, go to work, you know, and put the team on your back. And what's really neat is that, you know, just after the game, I was talking with Jamal, and he said to me, man, he goes, Nikola's really good. What an understatement. And he goes, some of the shots, some of the finishes, and what I love about that is, you know, Jamal's really good too. And for them to appreciate one another and to never take each other for granted, I think is special. But yeah, no, Nikola, man, I mean, 15 of 22, made 2 threes, got to the foul line. He did everything for us tonight, and it was fun to watch.
Michael, we talked about the impact of the bench last game. Tonight, Christian, you look at the stat line, but it feels like his impact was even so much bigger than that. Can you talk about his impact on the game tonight?
Yeah, CB has been great. You know, that's 2 games in a row that I've closed with him. I think his defense, his rebounding, 28 minutes, 10 points, 5 boards, a couple of assists, 2 blocks. But then hustle plays, just his aggression, his toughness, his physicality, and I love his confidence, man. Like he's stepping in and shooting the shot with confidence. Where I think earlier in their season there was a point in time where if he missed a couple, he was somewhat hesitant. But right now, CB's playing at a very high level, and that's a luxury for us. If we have a lead, and I need to get a guy in that can guard at a high level and rebound and make plays, you can get him out there and hopefully he can continue to play at the level he's played at.
Hey, Coach, I've asked you about momentum.
I go home.
Jamal, Michael just said that you told him after the game, man, Nikola's really good, which he believed to be a large understatement. What stood out to you about the way Nikola played tonight and some of the impressive finishing in particular?
I mean, if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. He had 40. He missed 7 shots on the Defensive Player of the Year, and I felt like he had 50. So whenever he's gets going like that, you just kind of let him dictate the way the game's going to go.
Do you kind of feel like he's capable of sort of adapting throughout the course of a series to whatever the different coverages, different matchups might be on him? It seems like there's kind of a trend of this over several years at this point.
For sure. I mean, there's nothing much to say. Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna ask you.
I can hear you.
Feel like that's a quality of yours as well, and maybe something.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, look at you being a nice guy, man. Look at you.
Do you feel like the cerebral part of your game too? Maybe that's underrated as the series goes on. You can figure out tough defense.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just every series, every game is just so different. So it's not. I don't really look at the stats in the playoffs. Obviously, if you get it going, but like every game is different. And me kind of playing off ball and taking whoever's on me, that basically has no coverage. So I mean, all the action is going on, and there's less help because of it. And I'm just trying to give whatever the team needs. If Yoke got it going, there's no need for me to force anything. There's no need for me to make something up at any of us. So I felt like tonight I was just being whatever the team needed. I feel like if we need defense, I was trying to do my best and not turn it over. Just. Make the right reads, not force. The main thing was just not forcing anything. If Yoke's scoring like that, there's no need to do anything special. So I felt like tonight I was just trying to control the tempo, if that made sense. Pick my spots, went to a drive, knowing that they're collapsing, all that stuff. So, but I appreciate you.
That was a great little segment from Jamal Murray and Michael Malone praising the league MVP. And, of course, Nikola Jokic put on a masterclass. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the Denver Nuggets did differently against Anthony Edwards. We're going to spend a little less time on the victory parade of the told you so's and the, hey, what about all those people that said the Nuggets were going to get swept, and do those people have mud on their face? Look, man, this Nuggets team did not show up in the first 2 games. And I tell you, my knee-jerk reaction after game 2 was, oh boy, this is not the team that I picked to win this series. Coming into this series, they don't look like themselves. And I'm really glad that they had that 4 days off. If you're a Timberwolves fan, however, you're very upset that they had that 4 days off, because they had a chance to recalibrate and re-perspectivize what they're trying to do as a team and what their goals are as a team, reconnect, get practice, get the day off, get Jamal Murray some rest. Nothing that happens in this series is going to make me think anything less of the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves have played really well, given their considerable limitations, age, talent. There's a massive gap, especially when you have to play a game 5 on the road without your starting point guard like Michael Conley tonight. It's very interesting that the Knicks versus the Wolves, sorry, the Knicks versus the New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers earlier today, and the Wolves versus the Nuggets, both teams in which I picked the home team to come out victorious in game fives. It's ironic how both teams sort of took on a very similar shell, right? Both teams even had a little hiccup run by the road team to start the third quarter, and then boom, the home team goes on a huge run. For the Nuggets, that run was largely orchestrated by Nikola Jokic. Now, I got to tell you, I've been watching Nikola Jokic for a very, very long time. There are very few games in which I'm genuinely surprised by anything that I see from him. I'm constantly amazed. I'm never surprised. Today, I was a little bit surprised. I got to be honest about that. This was a little bit surprising. Look, Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year, right? Some people say he's one of the best defenders of all time. Okay. The guy beat out a lot of really capable defenders for that award in years past. He's beat out guys like Evan Mobley, Bam Adebayo, Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, etc. He's not exactly competing against nobody. He's beat out guys like OG Anunoby. Like, there's some pretty good defenders in the league. And he has been crowned king honcho of the defense. And so, the NBA is about storylines sometimes, and sometimes you get a storyline like the MVP taking on the defensive player of the year, and both dudes happen to play the same position, and they're playing in the same series. And so, as much as it is a team game, you can really hone in on that matchup, especially when both teams decide to go straight up. Jokic wasn't using any fancy trickery. He wasn't using screens. He wasn't using anything. He just saw Gobert and said, okay, give me the ball. Let me go to work in the post. Let me do a little drop. Let me do a little hook. Let me do a little step back. Let me do a little turnaround. Let me go left shoulder, right shoulder. Let me bump him a little bit. It's not that he scored 40. It doesn't matter to me that he scored 40. I know he's capable of scoring 40. It doesn't really wow me. It doesn't matter that he scored 40 on 22 shots. He only missed 7 shots tonight. It doesn't matter that he did it from the line, did it from 3, did it 3 levels. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter that his team won decidedly. It doesn't matter all the shots that he generated, because the 40 points does not even account for the 13 assists and all the potential assists and hockey assists. Of the 112 points that the Denver Nuggets scored tonight, inadvertently or advertently, through a screen, through a pass, he was probably responsible for about 80 of them. None of that is what wows me about this. Please understand, I'm fully aware of Nikola Jokic's superpowers. What astounds me is how easy it was. What astounds me, you ever seen a basketball player going up against their trainer, and their trainer is like 8 inches shorter than the basketball player, and the basketball player is just going up, and the trainer is just trying to make it look a little hard, but it's not really that hard. So the trainer has to bring in those, pads and all that stuff. I feel like Rudy Gobert could have used some pads tonight. Maybe he could have used a little extendo stick or whatever you call that thing. Rudy Gobert looked like Nikola Jokic's trainer tonight. He looked like an old man who was just trying to be a body, like a warm body for him to scrimmage against. That's what it looked like. This is the playoffs. This is game 5. He basically, I don't know what Rudy Gobert did to deserve this, because everyone on the Denver Nuggets basically saw blood. Every one of them. They all went at him like all night. Aaron Gordon tried to put him on the poster to end his career. Jokic made him look like a little bitch. Honestly, Jamal Murray was trying to go at him. Like, everybody's going at him. Is it because he did the money sign after game 4? I don't know. It might be time for, I don't know, maybe a paternity leave or something. It might be, maybe go home and spend some time with your kids and see if the team can't recreate some of that game 2 magic in your absence. He can't guard him. He can't even contain him. And here's the thing. Anthony Edwards is a great player, right? I think we can all acknowledge Anthony Edwards has been awesome. Through game 1 through 6, he was one of the best players in the playoffs, one of the top 2-3 players in the playoffs. The only other two guys even in that conversation for me right now are Jalen Brunson and Nikola Jokic. Anthony Edwards was in that conversation as one of the best players in the playoffs into Game 6, which is 4 games against Phoenix and 2 games against Denver. He was in that conversation. The last few games hasn't been the same story. Remember that quote from Rocky? I keep bringing up Apollo Creed saying to Rocky, you fight great, but I'm a great fighter. That is the difference, right? You play basketball great, but I'm a great player. And that is different. It reminds me, it's a weird story, but I'll go on a side tangent for a minute. It reminds me of going up against my ex-girlfriend's dad. Shout outs to that dude. If he ever watches this, it'd be hilarious. I told him I would smoke him 11-0 because he was older than me. He's a really good player, but he was older than me. So I was like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna destroy him. Like, I didn't realize how good he was. I'd played pickup with him. We played on the same team. I would be wetting jumpers and everything, but I never had to guard him inside. I never had to deal with his footwork. I'm a guard. He's a big. And he's bigger than me. He's a lot bigger than me. He had like 100 pounds on me. But I was like, once I score, winners outs, he's never going to touch me. I was wrong. He mopped the floor with me. I think he beat me 11-3. I'll never forget that, the craft with which he dissected my mistakes. I played great. He was a great player. There's a difference. There were decades of little tips and tricks that he used against me, and I was too stupid and too young to figure it out at the time. I'll always remember that because I was athletically in my peak, and this guy was damn near 50. Maybe it's the same lesson that OJ Mayo learned when he went up against Michael Jordan. I don't know. Jokic is like that old man in the park. He don't move too fast, but if you put him in the post, you're not touching his shot. I saw Rudy Gobert play tremendous defense. He didn't even come close. Little flick, he's not breaking a sweat. He's not like, and then falling down, and he's not even off balance. Someone check his pulse after the game and just see, did his blood pressure ever rise to the level of even like breaking a sweat? Did he even hit jogging pace? He makes it look so easy. I've never seen a superstar make it look this easy. I watched a lot of superstars in my life. I watched Bill Russell tape as much as I can get my hands on. I watched Michael Jordan. I watched LeBron James. I watched D Wade. I watched Tim Duncan. Duncan is close to making it look very, very easy, but he was never this dominant. Like, defensively, offensively, combine it together, Duncan peak. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll agree with you. Yes. Duncan was one of my favorite players. I wore a Tim Duncan jersey all the time. Ask anybody who knew me. My nickname was Tim Duncan. My nickname was Duncan because I wore a Duncan jersey so often. So I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan. No disrespect. But the level of passing and even his defense is very underrated. It's very underrated. So as I watched this game, I watched two guys who, frankly, both games, Jalen Brunson, the masterclass that he put on in the Garden, really just putting a stamp on that series, making sure that everybody knows. If you had any doubts going into that series, who the best player in that series was, Jalen Brunson has left no doubt. No matter what happens in Game 6, no matter what happens in Game 7, there's no doubt who the best player in that series is. I don't hear anything about Tyrese Halliburton. I spent a lot of time talking well about Tyrese Halliburton earlier in the year. I've never really talked down about Jalen Brunson, but I didn't see him like this. This is new. This is leveling up. Can I point out something to you guys? Look at the Knicks starting lineup. Deuce McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. You know what all those guys have in common? Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this after, let me know in the comments and let's see if you get it right. Do you know what all those 4 guys have in common? They all started the year for the New York Knicks on the bench. That was their bench. So Indiana is getting mopped by Jalen Brunson and the Knicks B lineup. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's true. It's true. Mitchell, who were the starters on opening night? Mitchell, Randall, RJ Barrett, right? Those guys are gone. That's what I'm telling you. This is a good team. And they out-hustled and outworked. I mean, every single offensive rebound that had the Knicks name on it, Isaiah Hartenstein. But when it came down to scoring, it was Jalen Brunson. And I have no idea what Rick Carlisle is doing, putting Andrew Nemhard on him over and over, but he is barbecue chicken. Andrew Nemhard has about as good a chance of guarding Jalen Brunson as Rudy Gobert has of guarding Nikola Jokic, which is no chance. But that's the crazy thing. No one is mistaking Andrew Nemhard for the greatest defender in the world. No one crowned him DPOY. That's what makes Jokic's night so special. He didn't even call for a switch. Do you understand that? When you usually when you have the DPOY, you try to screen away so that you can draw a mismatch. I see a lot of bigs trying to do that, trying to run in transition, get down early and try to see if they can seal a wing or seal a guard. Jokic is inviting Gobert. Do you know why he's inviting Gobert? Again, if you're watching this video after, let me know if you can understand why is Nikola Jokic inviting Rudy Gobert as his primary matchup? Why is he going at Rudy Gobert? If you're North American, I guarantee you some part of your brain is like, he's trying to prove how great he is by going at the DPOY. He's trying to go at the DPOY because Jokic is trying to prove a point. Zigsaw puzzle. It's like when Shaq would go at Mutombo. Incorrect. In my humble opinion, that is incorrect. Shaq went at Mutombo, in my opinion, because he wanted to prove a point that he was the most dominant and no one could stop him. It's impossible for people like Gilbert Arenas and Shaquille O'Neal to understand a player like Nikola Jokic. You can't even wrap your head around how this guy thinks. What happens when Rudy Gobert and Nikola Jokic get drawn into a one-on-one post battle? There's no help at the rim. He's taking their best help defender and turning him into a post defender that can't guard him in the post. He took Rudy Gobert. He baited Rudy Gobert because he's a completely immature, little man. That's personal. If Jokic draws Gobert 4 or 5 feet from the basket, that opens up Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, KCP, all those guys now have wide open lanes to attack the rim and to cut behind Gobert. Now, sometimes Rudy Gobert is so good defensively that he is going to still recover and block the shot anyway. Daryl saying Jokic can take Rudy away from anywhere else. Jokic can make plays to Gordon or Murray. Exactly. Genghis Juan saying he may have said something to piss him off. Not likely, because getting under Jokic's skin and trying to draw, here's the thing. Michael Jordan often talked about playing the game within the game. He would talk a lot about this, and Kobe talked about it too. I think the greatest players in the world figure it out at some point that there is a second game happening within the game of basketball. And it's happening on an individual level. Sometimes that means that you're going to dunk a little extra hard to cap a run. Sometimes it means, look at all the small things that Nikola Jokic does throughout the game. From drawing, like how demoralizing is it for you? If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, there's so many extra layers to him going at Gobert that need to be factored in. Number one, it opens up the lanes for his teammates, and it makes easier scoring opportunities at the rim for guys like Aaron Gordon, because Karl-Anthony Towns is not anywhere near the shot blocker. Jaden McDaniels is a much, much better, defender than people give him, maybe even some better than some people give him credit for. But if he's drawn out to the wing and Karl-Anthony Towns is the only guy there, if you send a double to Jokic, it's a pass to a shooter. If you bring Gobert out and Towns starts to turn his head, it's a cutter behind, back door, or a lob to Aaron Gordon. It's a very simple game. Scotty Barnes has talked about this many times. It's a very simple game. Additional small things that Jokic does. Screening. His screening has been incredible the last 3 games. I was very, very unimpressed with it the first 2 games, and even the last game of the Lakers series, but he has been really laying his body into people. You don't see star players do this. I don't think I can remember off memory like 100 good screens that guys like LeBron or Kobe or Jordan usually set for guys. It's usually Luke Longley and Bill Cartwright setting a screen for Jordan. It's very rare to have a player setting such a solid screen because these things hurt. You have guys who are the best athletes in the world that weigh 230 pounds coming right into your body like this. You're just taking a beating all night. You're just taking a beating. His communication in transition, some of the game management, this entire 24-second shot clock that he manages, right from the inbound right to the execution of the shot, from managing floor bounds, calling out when he sees a guy maybe getting ready to leak out, calling out to a teammate that guy needs to get back. How underrated is communication on defense? Because he's a great communicator defensively. What about eking out the shot clock and being a great game manager of the clock? This guy might be the best point guard in the NBA, and he's a center. He's bringing the ball up, milking the clock subtly on the out of bounds, calling out something to a player, letting the clock run. There's like 8-9 seconds coming off the clock when he has a win, when they're up. But if the Nuggets were down in the exact same situation, he has such a keen awareness of time and score that he would be the first person to make sure not 1 second went off that clock. There is such a consistent awareness of all factors with him. He is seeing the game at a level that I cannot remember any player in my lifetime seeing the game. This is very, very LeBron, him, and I think the conversation really has to be him, LeBron, Magic. That's the end of the conversation. I didn't watch enough Bill Russell, but I imagine he had this kind of cerebral, ability too. But those are the guys. That's it. Nobody else. Nobody else sees the game this way. Nobody else is factoring every angle of everything. Nobody else has got a mental checker of how many fouls every single player has. Nobody else has this. This is vision. Sometimes like when you listen to LeBron after the game and he's describing a play to you, he's describing it exactly how it happened. Go back and watch anything he ever talks about in the post games. It's exactly how he says it happened. There's like a genius level IQ to this. And it's not unlike chess. I play a lot of chess. I'm not a genius chess player. I'm fairly okay. I got to tell you, I admire a lot of great chess players, but if you ask them about a game they played 2-3 years ago, they could probably remember every single move in that game. How do they do it? Chess grandmasters can play 7, 8, 9, 10 games at a time. Some of them can play 12 games at a time. How can they do it? They can play blindfolded. How can they do it? This is just genius. It is genius. There is no other word for it. And what he did to Rudy Gobert was he played bop it with Rudy Gobert, man. What it looked like to an average fan was mano a mano center battle from the 90s. What it looked like to me was the elite masterstroke of a chess player who is at the peak of his powers. It totally slows the game down, right? Now, we got to talk about both games, so let's just get into the box score a little bit, but enough waxing poetic. I always spend these like 25 minutes of every single episode just talking about how great Nikola Jokic is. It's like, surprise, motherfucker, the guy who won 3 MVPs is great. Yes, I know. Okay, let's talk about this. So let's start with the first game. We talked enough about Jokic for a second here. Let's talk about the first game. So the New York Knicks, right? The Pacers did come out to a pretty hot start, and this game was, I would say, almost in the Pacers' favor for the first 4 minutes, and then it just ended right there. It was 16 to 19, 16 to 12. I think like they had 12-9, 14-9. You could say momentum spiked for them there, and then it just went away, and the Knicks just pressed it. And then we came out of the half, and Miles Turner goes ballistic from 3, and then we're seeing 3 after 3 after 3. And they closed it to 10. And then you're like, uh-oh. And then the Knicks said no. And then they pushed it to 20, and it was over. It was so over. In the fourth quarter, we got a little mini run from Pascal Siakam, which I think was very impressive and very needed. And he needs to do a lot more of that. But this game was never close again. It was never close again. I tell you, it was never close again. And the Knicks blew out the Pacers by 30 points. Now, to those of you who are Pacers fans, I don't know, Laurent, if you're watching this, but to those of you out there who are Pacers fans, or maybe even Siakam super fans, you want to talk about how great the Pacers are, and say, well, Rob, didn't the Pacers do this to the Knicks last game? No, they did not. No, they did not, because the Pacers did not surrender this game. The Pacers came in trying to win this game. And up until about the second, third quarter, they were still trying to win this game. You can say they laid dead in the fourth quarter, but the Knicks laid dead for the last 3 quarters of last game. Okay. There was no effort, no try. Everything was slow. And, they let the Pacers feel themselves a little bit. They know, the Knicks know, the longer this series goes, the better it is for them. Now, one thing that I want to point out, there was an unusual number of replays. They kept going to the monitor. That helps the Knicks so much, okay? The Pacers' only hope is that the Knicks basically fall apart physically, because they have so many guys playing so many high minutes. The Pacers like to push the tempo. The more you force guys to stand around and catch their breath, the more it's actually going to favor the team that is really, really hustling hard and doesn't really want to freaking run. I'm pretty sure that, again, game within a game, broader perspective, I don't think what the Knicks did tonight in terms of effort, in terms of scrappiness, in terms of going after every single... Do you know how dangerous it is to send so many players to the offensive glass against a transition team? Typically, you don't do this, okay? It's a massive risk. Offensive rebounding and transition defense are completely linked. And I think that both coaches, from Tom Thibodeau to Mike Malone, both took some very big risks that paid off today. Okay. I think the Knicks took a little bit of a risk that all of their crashing of the offensive glass is not going to burn them in transition, that their communication is good enough, that DiVincenzo and Hart, that they're going to have proper floor balance and be able to recover in those situations, that they're going to get enough of these offensive rebounds to trade off, to make the trade-off make sense. But man, you had like so many guys crashing the glass, not the least of which was that Dante DiVincenzo put back jam over Miles Turner, who just, this entire Pacers team has constant malaise when it comes to the defensive glass. They do not rebound well, and it shows, right? In terms of just who did what, Pascal Siakam leads the way for the Indiana Pacers with 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists on 7 for 15 shooting. Nice superstar effort from him. That's a little bit sarcastic. He was their best player for the most part, right? And that hasn't happened too often in the playoffs, in my opinion. It happened for the first 2 games of the first round, and then it really hasn't happened since. Maybe it happened for a couple quarters. He's had massive struggles from the line. Tonight, he goes 6 for 7 from the line, which is a huge, huge turnaround for him. I thought defensively he tried to compete, but he did get burned quite a few times as well. Aaron Nesmith, quiet game, a lot of fouls, a lot of foul trouble, for him. Miles Turner, apart from that giant explosion, to start the third quarter, relatively quiet tonight. And Tyrese Halliburton, I thought, terrible game from him. I really did not like this game from him. In a must-win situation, right? You could say this is not a must-win, but you'd be kidding yourselves. If you think the Knicks are going to lose 2 straight right now, you don't understand. Game 5 swings the series very, very often. Go back and check the record. Game 5 is a massive series decider. And this was, unfortunately for the Pacers, going to be played in New York, regardless of how this series went, unless the Pacers closed it out in 4. And that's what I'm saying. Even if the Pacers had won today, you say the odds of this series going in their direction and their ability to have 2 opportunities to close it out, that's the difference. Closeout games are really hard. The only thing harder than a closeout game is a game 7. So for the Knicks, they have 2 chances to close this out. They can go to Indiana and close it out, which I believe they are fully capable of and are going to try to. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, guess what? Consolation prize. Look at the record of teams actually winning a game 7 on the road. It rarely ever happens. I think it's happened 36 times in NBA history. So yes, This was a massive, massive, massive game, and the Pacers needed this. And for your franchise point guard, your superstar point guard, and I use superstar with kind of air quotes because this is not a superstar effort, and this has not been a superstar playoffs for Tyrese Halliburton. And I understand he's going through a lot of stuff, and I understand he's under 25, and I understand all that, but you can't be this passive. I mean, you had an open layup and you're turning the ball over, trying to pass. It was a ridiculous, ridiculous effort. And I think that it's deflating for a team that is looking to him as their franchise guy, their go-to guy, their captain, their leader. And he's not giving shit on defense. He's completely selling on defense. And then on the other hand, he's not really being himself on offense. And it's really hit or miss with him. He's been very assertive for parts of this series, and the Pacers have benefited from those situations because once he becomes a threat, then the passing opens up. The passing is always there with him. Problem is, they're not really guarding him like he's a superstar right now. And on the other hand, you're having to basically guard Jalen Brunson like he's a megastar. So it's just not working, and they didn't get shit from the bench today. They got 7 points from Obi Toppin, 7 points from TJ McConnell. Ben Shepherd goes 6 points, 2 for 3 in 25 minutes. They tried everything they could. They gave, Jalen Brunson different looks. It didn't really matter who you put on him tonight, but Andrew Demhart ain't it, right? In terms of what you're going to get from him. Jalen Brunson, emptied the clip, so to speak, to borrow something from DeMar's vernacular and LeBron James vernacular. He emptied the clip, all right? 18 for 35 tonight. Efficient night, weirdly enough. That's above 50% shooting. 44 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, relentless, attacking the rim. He was a plus 31. I know New York fans really love their plus minus box score stuff. He was plus 31 tonight in OG Anunoby's absence. You had 12, count it, 12 offensive rebounds from a man, Isaiah Hartenstein. Holy shit, I am a huge fan of this guy. I've been a fan of his for a very long time. It was awesome. Super selfless. Great player, man. Great player. This guy is like, this is what championships are built on. They're built on guys like Isaiah Hartenstein. 7 points, 17 rebounds, 1 block. He was awesome. Also, very chippy game. Very chippy game. Deuce McBride, 17 points. Got the start tonight for Precious Achiuwa. I guess, they pulled the plug on the Precious Achiuwa as a starter experiment because they were getting off some pretty bad starts with him. Josh Hart, not the greatest game, but also low-key, really good game from Josh Hart. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 7 for 16 shooting, 2 for 7. Those three-point shooting numbers are going to come down to earth. Dante DiVincenzo, he had 8 points, and you lost by 30. Like, this is kind of like you're looking at Michael Porter's numbers for the Denver Nuggets, and you're like, how are you losing to a team by 20 and one of their biggest stars is having such a dud? Dante DiVincenzo did not have a great shooting night tonight, went 0 for 6. That is not happening again, ever, okay? 0 for 6 doesn't happen for this dude, and don't bank on it happening again. Alec Burks was incredible off the bench, man. Just such a huge effort. And I pointed it out, if y'all remember that video in which I was talking about how the Pistons are not this bad, and everyone's like, who they're supposed to play? Cade has no help. I'm like, he has Alec Burks. Are you seeing this? Alec Burks is doing in the playoffs right now. I don't think if they had Cade Cunningham on their team that he could have done what Alec Burks did tonight. Is that crazy to say? I don't think so. Alec Burks is a good player, man. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's 18 points a night in 23 minutes on 6 for 11 shooting. I think the Indiana Pacers having shitty defense does something to you, and all the attention that Jalen Brunson is drawing. But man, he is more than capable of fitting in with an actual star. Problem is, the Detroit Pistons, they didn't have an actual star. And so, he is rendered as useless. He wasn't useless. I mean, even if you watch the one game where they actually broke that streak, Alec Burks was incredible in that game. People have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to Alec Burks. He's been a serviceable and very good player and a very good shooter for a very long time. He hit 5 threes tonight. I thought he was instrumental for them. Where does the series go? I think it ends in 6. If it doesn't end in 6, it ends in 7. If it doesn't end in 7, I got some big mud on my face because, as y'all remember, I had that now infamous, a lot of Indiana fans hating on me for that, poll on Twitter/X, in which I said, how will this series end? And I said, Knicks in 4, Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6, Knicks in 7. I didn't give an Indiana wins chance. Okay. That's how confident I was. And that was before OG got injured. When OG got injured, and and Mitchell Robinson got injured, I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't think anyone's going to give me any flack. I don't think anyone is going to give me any rope on this one. No one is going to be like, okay, we forgive you for going out on such a limb, because the two guys were really big parts of this series and would have been massive problems. Massive. OG and Mitchell Robinson would have been, if healthy, massive problems for Indiana. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I picked them to stomp this series, because I felt OG would just stop Pascal. And without OG, I'm like, yo, like they don't really have a really great matchup for Pascal Siakam. You see, they're guarding him with Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo at times. Sometimes he gets Deuce McBride. Like, this is barbecue chicken for Pascal Siakam. So this is a very scary series right now. But I trust the heart of the New York Knicks. If you've been following me on the last 2 days on Player's Choice, yesterday I went on and I had a huge rant about why I did not think the Indiana Pacers had a chance in this series, even without OG Anunoby. Now, again, longer this series goes, the more of a chance that OG Anunoby makes a little bit of a recovery and then comes back. And then there's the whole like Willis Reed moment of like, he's going to come back and whatever. Okay. So if OG comes back, it's series wrap. Right now, I would say 85% likely this is going to be a Knicks win. Okay. A-Tong saying, I love the sarcasm. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the Denver versus Minnesota series. Interesting look tonight to give Anthony Edwards. They double him. They double him a lot. And I thought this was interesting, and it had the potential to burn them early. Now, they didn't have a point guard tonight, which is interesting. They decided to start Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I imagine that may have messed up their rotations a little bit. They go with Morris as their backup guard, and they continue to play Kyle Anderson. Honestly, I'm struggling to understand what I might have done differently in Mike Conley's absence. I think, and this might sound crazy, but I think I would have gone with TJ Warren. I think I might have gone with TJ Warren just for the shot making and to relieve a little bit of pressure off of Anthony Edwards. Barring that, I might have gone with Kyle Anderson to get another playmaker in there. They went with a defender who's somewhat limited offensively, who had a really good game, by the way. I think Nickeil Alexander played really well. And that's not necessarily the issue for them tonight. It's really difficult to say what the issue was. I mean, you can really hone in on Anthony Edwards not being a gifted enough playmaker, even though he had 9 assists. You can point to that and say if they blitz him, he was missing shooters all night. You could point to Naz Reid coming up short with 7 points off the bench and say we needed more from him. You could say, Kyle Anderson probably needs to give you more than 2, maybe, but it's not like Karl-Anthony Towns played a horrible game. 10 for 19, maybe defensively a little bit. You need a little bit more on the glass from him, maybe crash the glass a little bit, communicate a little bit better defensively. You can say maybe Rudy Gobert needs to be a bigger monster in this series. He needs to have like an 18-18 game with, Mike Conley out. I don't know. I really don't know. Or maybe you say Anthony Edwards just needs to get going. He basically, apart from like 3 minutes in this game, he was a non-factor offensively. He got to the line, yes, but those 5 field goals, I'm pretty sure 2 of them came like really close together. So like this game was another game which I don't think ever got away from Denver. I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves were ever favored to win this game. I could be wrong, but I was doing the math while the game was going on. I don't think it was ever in doubt. Boom. There you go. Okay, so Denver 53%. So Denver got to 50. Third quarter, okay, boom. Minnesota 55. So when Minnesota went 55-53, but still I felt the momentum was still in their favor. So it was okay, let's just see here. Third quarter, right? Karl-Anthony Towns, Cat, 2-point shot. Jamal Murray, bad pass. Anthony Edwards makes 2 free throws. Rudy Gobert, defensive rebound. Karl-Anthony Towns, 23-foot jumper, a three-pointer. Michael Porter makes a three, and then boom, it's a Nuggets timeout. Like, they need to call a timeout here because they can't stop the bleeding. They went into the half 44-50 with all the momentum in the world, right? All the momentum in the world. Nikola Jokic hitting a three, and you're just like, they came and they just gave it all back. But from that point on, in the third quarter, from the moment they called that, you can tell when Jokic went into the huddle, he went in with like big mad energy. Like, I'm done. I'm sick of this. This is not happening. And it's over. And he came back onto the court and he put on a masterclass for the ages. Just let's go play by play. It was insanity. If you watched it and you saw it in real time, but look at the third quarter and look at his domination. There's the timeout. 55-53, right? Rudy Gobert blocks an Aaron Gordon 2-foot dunk. Jokic, defensive rebound. Still no Jokic points, yeah? Still no Jokic points. 7 minutes and 18 seconds to go. Jokic rebound. Boom. 6 minutes and 32 seconds to go. He makes a 3-point shot. Then less than a minute later, so 40 seconds later, he makes a 2-foot layup. Then a minute later, he makes a 2-foot shot off of a Aaron Gordon assist. Then he has another defensive rebound. If I could just isolate just for Jokic. 3 minutes to go, another 2-foot shot, then another layup. It was back to back to back to back to back to end this. And he put him over. So we went from when this entire thing started, it was 60, let's say 57 to 55. And to when it ended, it was 88-74. That's all she wrote. You're not coming back from that. You're not coming back from a 14-point deficit against the team that's better than you on their home court. He put this game away in the third quarter. He said, we're not playing with our food. And even after the game, when he was talked to, he hits let's not even talk about 12-foot driving, floating jump shot, whatever the hell that is. And then he makes one free throw. It was an and one. The Nuggets and their ability to close quarters is just insane. After what they did in the second quarter last game to what they did here. And then in the fourth quarter, I believe Nikola Jokic started the fourth quarter on the bench. And the Timberwolves once again start to edge a little bit closer, right? They get it to 80-90. Jokic enters the game and then decides, nope, 96-80. It's over. We're not playing around with the Denver Nuggets, bro. We're not playing around. We're not making this a 10-point game. They kept him at bay. Don't even look at this score. This score is not reflective of how this game could have looked. There's this thing. We're watching a lot of blowouts in the playoffs. Correct? Yes. We have been seeing a ton of blowouts in the playoffs. And a part of that, you might say, is the physicality of, teams just kind of getting worn down as the game goes on, and the team that's up just continues to run up the score. But I think a lot of that has to do with just a general insecurity of how unsafe leads are right now. And a team that's ahead to have that momentum to not loosen it up and not start putting in their third stringers at the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter and just kind of riding it out. So maybe if the regular season was this serious, we would see these blowouts in the regular season all the time. I'm not saying we don't see blowouts in the regular season. We do. But I think a game like this, if the Nuggets wanted to, like if they wanted to really, instead, you could feel it from the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter right to the end buzzer. The Nuggets were not trying to increase the lead. They were just trying to run out the clock. They were still being professional about it, but they were running out the clock. They stopped scoring. I think a minute left in the game, they stopped running up the score. If they had wanted to, if there was someone's life on the line and said, you got to win this game by 30, they could have won this game by 30. This was as stomping a performance as I've seen. The only thing that even compares is the last game. This series is over. just like I said with the other series, this is over. And there's a lot of people I want to check in with. Not to gloat, but I really need to check in with these people because I had people forwarding me like clips of, the Minnesota Timberwolves being just this great and Denver can't score on them and Jokic can't score on this guy and that guy. And like, I got to tell you, when I broke down the game film from game 1 and 2, I said it then, like afterwards when I watched it, I said, a lot of this is self-inflicted. I very, 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 very much considered, and this is crazy that I didn't because that would have been iconic. Before game 3, I very much considered making a massively viral type video. Like, you remember that video in which like I got really, really mad at the Toronto media for Scotty Barnes and I just talked into the camera and I got really angry? I really considered making a video like that. And I said, come back to me if the Denver Nuggets don't win this series. I bet you anything. I was going to do that. And I was just like, man, don't do that. Like, just don't do that. I'm sad I didn't. So I did some muted version of that by saying that the series is not over, but I didn't go on any crazy bold proclamations other than the bets. That performance from Jokic tonight bordered on racism. That's funny. I know you're kidding, but yeah, that's hilarious. Look, man, I'm happy for Jalen Brunson. I'm happy for the Knicks. I'm happy that the better team is winning in both situations because we all want to see great basketball. And truth be told, regardless of who comes out, but whether it be the Thunder or the Dallas Mavericks, the Denver Nuggets are the better team. Okay. And regardless of which of those 3 teams goes to the finals, because I'm still not totally sold that Dallas is going to go to the final, go to the Western Conference Finals, because I mean Dallas played a way better game last night. Here's a fun fact to put into your hat: the OKC Thunder. What was that? Hold on, I'm gonna read you it because I don't want to screw this up. Hold on, I'll read you the stat. It's a wild stat. One sec. Let me read it to you. And it is about how the Dallas Mavericks lost the game last night. So where the hell is it? So OKC shot 25.9% from 3 and 35% at the rim tonight against Dallas. They had a 41.9% effective field goal percentage, the lowest by a team in a playoff win since the Suns in 2021. So in 3 years, no team has shot as poorly as they did and still won a game. It's incredible. The only way that game was even close was because the Dallas Mavericks kept missing free throws. And even down the stretch, Luka had a chance to tie the game up, missed a free throw. So I believe in my heart that the Dallas Mavericks are the better team. I do. I believe the fact that the series is tied 2-2 is probably a very motivating factor for them to come out tomorrow and blow this series open. That being said, the Thunder are very pesky and they do not go away. So just like the Timberwolves, they are a very worthy adversary. But I would be shocked out of my mind, shocked beyond belief, if the NBA finals or the conference finals are not New York versus Boston on the east side and Denver versus Dallas on the west side. Let me see if I have my pre-playoff bracket to see how well I'm doing here on that one. Let me see here. Okay. I mean, I got a lot wrong. I had the Cavs getting bounced in the first round by the Magic. Magic made it, but I had the Celtics getting through and the Knicks getting through. So it doesn't matter how we got there. We're still going to get to the end result that I predicted. So, I mean, the rules of brackets say I fucked up badly on this one, but yeah, and I believe that my Western Conference was Denver versus Dallas, but I have to check that too. Hold on. Let me see if I can check it. Where the hell was I? I have to find it. But I believe I said Denver in 6. I have to go back and check that too. But if Denver in 6 ends up happening, I'm very, very happy that I made that prediction prior to this series. Nevertheless, overreactions aside, I think Nikola Jokic was Anthony Easton saying, I wonder how big of a deal Joker is in Serbia. Okay. Do you really wonder? Let me show you. So hold on. Let me just flash this here. He's a pretty big deal. It's a really big deal. First of all, basketball is a really huge deal for us. And he is the best basketball player in the world. We're very proud of him. Let me see if the shorts here. So obviously have a lot of Nikola Jokic content because here, this is a beautiful reel. If any of you have a chance to watch this, I cut together Aaron Gordon just talking about Nikola Jokic. Also, can we please give credit to the fact that I called Fred VanVleet going to the Houston Rockets? Like, I don't even think Vegas had that one. Called it. Okay. Where are we? So this has 2.3 million views. 2.3 million views. Is the biggest video in our channel's history. This one has 277,000 views. We have Instagram videos with like 1 million views on reels and stuff. And a lot of them are about Jokic and a lot of them are Serbian people sharing it. So yeah, he's a really, really big deal. He's a huge deal. Also, I just want to point out to those of you who are Raptor fans who are checking this out that, oh, you're Serbian Pen? Yes, I am, sir. Oh, you calling me Pen? So you came over from Player's Choice. Nice to have you here, man. So, anyways, I thought this was really cool. I thought it was a really great game, and yeah, overall, I'm thrilled with how this turned out. Yesterday, I was devastated. Emotionally, I was devastated. Dallas Mavericks choked that game away. Boston Celtics letting the Celtics hang around. Like, I was just like, shit, I don't get anything in the world. All my predictions are wrong. But today I feel a little bit more settled. Both the Knicks and the Denver Nuggets took care of business. Let's see. How are we feeling about tomorrow? Well, I feel the Boston Celtics close it out. I don't know what's happening with Donovan Mitchell, but I assume regardless of what's happening with him, the Boston Celtics should probably end that series tomorrow. Anthony Easton saying us Americans love the Joker too. Yeah, man. I mean, like, I would like to think Americans do, right? If you look at like the comments on this reel, bro, it's like every comment is about like what a great dude he is and how like he's an incredible person and like they wish Americans understood this and stuff. So it's great. Look, I'll share a personal story about what Jokic means to me and what he means to a lot of Serbian people, and I guess we can end this live on that. For those of you who don't know, the Yugoslavian wars were a very, very big PR hit job on Serbs, right? It was not a good look, okay? If every single person in your neighborhood has seen your country represented this way, think about, all the wars that we've seen, Russians, Ukrainians, Palestinians, Israelis. Depending on what channel you're watching, you're probably assuming that one side of that world is barbaric, right? So as a Serbian person, to see your country represented as these warmongers, these genocidal maniacs, these very heartless people, these very violent people, you start to get a feeling that your teachers are starting to look at you differently, right? You get that feeling. You get a feeling that your neighbor's starting to look at you differently. And everyone wants to talk to you about the war. Everyone wants to talk to you about, how you feel about Albanians, how you feel about this, how you feel about that. They automatically assume you are completely bigoted. So they assume you hate Muslim people. They assume you hate gay people. They assume you have all these backwards views because that's all they know about you, right? Is what CNN told them. So, all of the shifting perspectives. And then on the other hand, because after the war, you're basically a refugee country, right? Like you had a lot of people who were displaced after the war. There was a lot of violence. And so a lot of people seek asylum in other countries. And so they come over here and now you're immigrants. And then people look down on you on that too, because they kind of have that, Trump shithole country mentality about it, right? Like you're coming from this shitty country, and people think of your country and they think of war, and that's not a good association to have with your country. I think Serbia, Croatia, all of the Balkan countries, frankly, are beautiful places, like beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places, beautiful people, beautiful culture, beautiful music, beautiful women. if you're a dude, beautiful women, beautiful family, beautiful countryside, beautiful seaside, beautiful hotels, beautiful food. My God, I go on and on and on. Like, I mean, go to Split. I was born in Split. Go to Split. Go to Belgrade. Go to any of these places. This is a beautiful country with beautiful people. And unfortunately, when your entire beautiful country and your entire beautiful nation and your entire beautiful region is now known for war and conflict, it's a horrible feeling. And so, and that's how North Americans associated Serbs, because Serbs were the people who created that problem, according to them, right? And they don't understand the years and decades of buildup and false promises and brainwashing and propaganda and issues and ethnicities and all the Turkish influence and the influence of the Nazis and all that stuff, right? Like, I'm probably going to demonetize for even saying that, but like, there's a lot of things that go into what makes people snap, right? So that being said, I say that to say this. I got onto a plane, I think 2009, 2010, and we're going to Serbia. And this woman, who's an old British woman, she gets on the plane with me, and she started talking to me about this and that, and we started talking about where we're going. And it was a flight, I think, to Italy, and then from Italy it was to Serbia, or to Greece to Serbia, whatever she was going to the first place. And we started talking about it, and she said, "Oh, Serbian, like Novak Jokovic or Novak Djokovic." And you get that feeling that the association finally changed, because it's not like, "Oh, Serbian, like the war people with the guns." It changed. Novak and Nikola Jokic have such a huge part to play on the global stage, They can't be sellouts either, though, because Serbs are very proud people with very, very principled ideas about things. And so they can't just go and be like, "Yay, we're North American." What they've done instead is they have threaded the needle of being absolutely beautiful people, very funny, very jovial, very clean cut, which kind of cuts away from the, bearded crazy person that you saw on the screen in 1998 and 1997, as Bill Clinton was, justifying that war. And then on the other hand, they have also managed to, in my opinion, stay very, very connected to their people in terms of their identity. I have a lot of friends who are Serbian who disagree with me on this. I don't fucking care. I believe that they are family people, that they are good community members, they're good sports, that they're good ambassadors, and I think they play the right way. And guess what? Here's a fun fact for y'all. Just a real fun fact, okay? Can anyone guess the population of Serbia? Just guess. Can anyone guess? The population of Serbia is considerably less than the population of California. It's considerably less than the population of New York State. It's considerably less than most big cities. Nick laughs, saying 5 to 6 million. Correct. It is 6.5 to 7 million. Can you imagine that a country of less than 7 million people on a globe with 8 billion people produced the best tennis player in the world and the best basketball player in the world? Think about it. Just fucking think about it. Think about the odds. If I had told you in 1999 that this war-torn country of 7 million people that had its entire economy, entire infrastructure, hospitals blown to shit, if I had told you that that country would within 20 years produce the best fucking basketball player in the world consistently for 5 years, the best tennis players for 7-8 years. I don't know how long Novak has been the best, but for me, he's been the best for like 12, 13 years now. What are the odds of that? you might have said the odds were 1 in a billion, but you'd be wrong. And you know why you'd be wrong? Because you are where you come from. I've always believed this, that you are where you come from. I think I wear the New York in me very proudly. Like there's a lot of New York in me because I grew up there, and I feel that. I feel it. I feel it in all my interactions with people. I feel it when I get into a tough spot, that element of me comes out, that element of where I grew up comes out, right? I also feel the Serb in me a lot, you know, even though I didn't live there for too long. So that all of it, and you know, I think that it's important, and the discipline and the hardships, all of that stuff has made these people. You know, Aaron Gordon went to Serbia with Nikola Jokic, and the first thing he said when he came back, he was on a podcast with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles, and he said, just being around him in his, you know, in his town, in his city, and watching him and watching the people he comes from, you get why he's so successful. Every day he's disciplined. He's a great family guy. He's great, you know. So anyways, enough about Nikola Jokic. I just want to say I'm very, very happy for him. I hope there are a lot of retractions. I can't wait to hear what Shaquille O'Neal and Gilbert Arenas have to say. But quite frankly, count me as one person who won't be listening because I don't fucking care. I hope the whole world has a great appreciation for what we are witnessing. We are witnessing one of the greatest careers in NBA history unfolding in front of our eyes. We are watching one of the greatest series comebacks, and people won't say it after, so I'll say it before. When the Denver Nuggets lost game 2, the odds of them coming back in this series, according to Vegas, were less than 10%. Currently, I would venture to guess that the odds of the Timberwolves coming back in this series are less than 10% according to Vegas. To flip the odds and completely invert them in 3 games took a lot of work, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of attitude adjustments. And frankly, I think it took just a realization that he is a 3-time MVP for a reason. Teacher Mike, Pensar fan, what's good? Yo, Teacher Mike, enjoy. We got your be great Scotty Barnes shirt on, bro. Thought you'd appreciate that. All right, man. I'm gonna talk to y'all later, and I will absolutely. Teacher Mike saying that shirt is straight fire, like he didn't make it. He made it. He shipped it to me. Thanks a lot, bro. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks a lot for sticking around with us at 3 a.m. I'm looking forward to tomorrow doing post games and stuff. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Oh, by the way, quick little plug. If you follow us on Pensar Basketball on Instagram, we are edging very, very close to 5,000 followers there. If you are not subscribed here, we are edging very, very close to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So maybe, just maybe, by next weekend, we hit 5,000 on one and 10,000 on the other on the same day. That will be a great day. All right. Talk to y'all later.